So how can brands leverage the data, the hybrid cloud technology to quickly expand their digital experience, automate operation, and enable consumer to shop anywhere and any way they choose? Let's welcome our panelist for the next segment. It's going to be Nishant Poder, the CMO and Head Retail Experience USPL. Can we have a round of applause as we welcome them onto the stage, please? Followed by, I would like to welcome Shishir Gupta, the Head Omnichannel, Arvind Fashion Limited, to kindly join us onto the dais. Mr. Rajneesh Kumar, the Head Digital and Direct to Consumer, ITC Limited, to kindly join us onto the dais. And last but not the least, Mr. Sugam Asani, the Chief Brand Officer, the Bestseller India, to kindly join us onto the dais, please. I request Mr. Kapil to kindly join us and head this panel of discussion. Thank you.
Great. Hi again. So now we are here for a panel discussion on empowering commerce with technology. Today I've got a very esteemed panel. While we talked about Unicommerce, how we are actually empowering commerce through technology, I think it will be good to also hear from some of the brands who have been at the front runner of implementing or utilizing technology to actually get to the scale that they are today. Today we have got Mr. Nishant, the CMO and Head of Retail Experience at USPL. Nishant, would you like to introduce yourself to them?
Hi everyone, this is Nishant here. I head marketing, at USPL. USPL is a house of fashion brands with brands like Wrong, Imara, Single, Wrong Active, and Mistaken as well. And we are a 9-year-old company, and we are democratizing, fashion for the youth. We are looking to, penetrate with the consumer's requirement in the youth space with, offering every single product, as far as consumer lifestyle is concerned. Thank you.
Thanks, Nishant. Next we have Shishir. Shishir, would be good to hear from you.
Hi, this is Shishir. I work with Arvind Fashions and I manage the D2C business for them. I've been there for 4 years, but the kind of time travel, the business, the processes, the consumer adoption that's been immense, and I'll be happy to share my thoughts with this at this forum with you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Shishir. Next we have Rajneesh. Rajneesh, would love to hear about you as well.
Hi, this is Rajneesh from ITC Limited. 16 years with the organization, pretty much every division and every business I've worked with. Our brands, are Ashirwad, Dark Fantasy, Savlon, many, many others, right? And I look after the digital strategy and direct to consumer for the group. Thanks.
Thanks, Rajneesh. And finally, we have Sugam. Sugam, would be good to hear from you.
Hi, I'm Sugam. Been with Bestseller since the last 9 years. We have brands like Jack & Jones, Veramoda, Only, Selected. It's very interesting to be in this panel. The customer is embarking on a new journey. I think whatever you do, you are still slower than the customer, it seems. The idea is to understand and probably also share with you what we at Bestseller are doing to keep up the pace.
Great. Thank you so much, Sugam. I think that sets the tone for the discussion for us. So as Sugam rightly pointed out, I think the consumer today is becoming very, very demanding. So that's why we thought we'll have a panel discussion with all the esteemed panelists today, talking about how they are using technology to streamline the consumer experience and drive growth for them. So my first question to all the panelists is that today in this cutthroat world, we talked about brand loyalty and how like post-purchase experience and even pre-purchase experience is important. How are you, for your respective brands, driving brand loyalty, and are you using maybe technology to drive that? And how does that help you achieve business growth? So maybe we'll start with Nishant, if you can go first.
Kapil, I would like to just start with the fact that the consumer psychography is changing so much that today's consumer is demanding higher than ever. And the margin for error is minimal. Every single brand, I must say, is to ensure that, they're constantly on the prowl to communicate with the customer, using technology. Technology is something that you cannot avoid. Using data, and the goal is to ensure that whatever data is available is translated into information, and that information is translated into insight to understand that consumer in the fashion, and communicate with the customer in the fashion that he or she would like to be communicated at. It's no longer for selling what the brand would like to sell. Just to give you a stat, a company like Netflix saves close to $1 billion annually on their customer retention program by putting technology into place and playing around with data to give the consumer what they're looking at. So that's where we're looking at. For all the brands, and at least for us at Wrong or at USPL, we look at mapping the consumer funnel, and for all our loyal consumer, we map the consumer funnel by tracking the consumer lifetime value and also tracking the net promoter score. I think in today's day and age, consumer needs to be taken very, very seriously and ensured that the communication is done in the fashion that they would want to hear it. And targeting what they are looking to do and how they are looking to do. That's what I would say, and I think technology would play a big, big role in doing all of it.
If you want to add something to that, to this question itself, which is that how are consumers today, like in this cutthroat world where all the brands are vying for the same consumer is becoming more informed, how is your brand, let's say, able to counter that through technology or otherwise in some of the initiatives that you would have done that may be helpful for the audience at large?
I think the most important bit is to understand that there are multiple touch points, and reaching or giving the same experience throughout these touch points, I think that has been the challenge for everyone. More than that, what's also important is that you're not the only brand, when the consumer is trying to do any generic search or any generic thought, right? So you're competing with many others who are there. So there are two parts of solving this problem. One is your go-to market or your marketing strategy. Second is what is your content strategy. I think these are the two things that will play a really, really big role in getting the mindshare that is required. I think it's a long journey. It will be very, very premature to even say that someone has started scratching the surface. It's a very, very long journey. I think all of us have just started getting one view of the inventory, that one view of the consumer, and how to get them mindshare is a very, very long journey. And I think there will be experiments. We'll learn from all of it, and whatever that scales from that experiment should be the way to go.
Rajesh, if you could also answer. And just one more addition to that. Are there any North Star metrics that, let's say, ITC uses, like one or two metrics that you feel can be for brands in FMCG or personal care space could be relevant?
Yeah, so it all depends upon the business couple. For example, when you're doing the, let's say digital marketing for brands, it has a different KPI because you are looking at a view-through rate or click-through rate, and because you're trying to, the basic metrics there is awareness, because anybody can have a biscuit or a chips or something like that. But when I'm talking about a D2C business, which is itcstore.in, which I look after, there the one metric that I go after is the cost of acquisition. Because if I want to scale, if I can control the cost of acquisition, I can acquire as many customers as possible and then retain them with better service, experience, whatever, and then grow that business. So it all depends upon where the brand is in the journey and what matters to them. Very established brand like Ashirwad, where awareness is not a problem. There they are looking at the right content for the right audience, because there you are trying to, kind of maybe a new product range or something new that you've come up with, organic atta or a dal. You're trying to show it to the homemaker, who's the decision maker in the purchase cycle, right? But a new brand, for example, Febel chocolates, their awareness is the major thing for them. So they will look at the different metrics. So it all depends upon what metrics matter to you. And that's where I want to make a point that, when we talk about businesses and technology today, technology is the bedrock on which, all businesses are actually being run. Every company, whether they like it or not, is a technology company. If you look at Amazon today, it's a technology company. It just happens that they also sell products, right? It is true for all businesses today, and it will continue to be like that. So we have to take technology very seriously. But what I've learned in the last 4 or 5 years buying humongous amount of technology for ITC is that in the maze of so many companies, you can just get lost. And like a kid in a candy shop, you're saying, okay, I will take this, take this, and then you have so many products and you have so many solutions. and you do not know how to get the ROI out of it. I think that is the message that I want to give from this panel is that, look at your business, look at what is it that you're trying to achieve the next 3, 6 months, 1 year, what is the objective. Look at the technologies that will help you enable that, whether it's consumer experience or whether it's a recommendation engine, whether it is, one simple tool that we bought that's helping us a lot is the Content Square, because we wanted to map the entire clickstream data on the website, where the consumer is going, what they are doing. And so that tool came very handy because now we have been able to change our website based on that. So it depends upon what goals are you looking at, and then choose the right tool, look at the ROI, and then go for it. Otherwise, you'll get lost in so much technology which is around us.
Thanks so much, Rajnish. Very useful. Sugam, a question for you. Today, again, we've been talking about consumer being very demanding, and bestseller has obviously been able to sustain so many brands and having diverse set. And now, in the whole transitioning into the online world, what are some of the principles in this journey that you've seen for a brand to be able to hold its ground in this competitive world? Again, some of the matrices or some of the processes that has helped become bestsellers so successful, if you can help audience walk through that journey.
Sure. So I'll divide that into 2 parts. I think the first part is to understand your core consumer. I think we all would like to believe that we understand our either customer or consumer, but I think we don't. With the same knowledge that you were having for the same customer, I think that knowledge is redundant today because the preferences of the customers are changing. So the idea is to how to bring about this pool of knowledge on a data platform and eventually make sure that you are remarketing more and more to the same customer rather than trying to acquire customers left, right, and center, which may or may not hold true for your brand. That's one part of it. The other part of it is how are you using all of this data that's floating around that you're trying to catch and eventually making your processes, your systems, and your products better. So what we are essentially doing at Bestseller is there is a plethora of knowledge that's available, data that's available. First, of course, you got to make it meaningful because I think there's a lot of riffraff that needs to go away, and eventually data needs to become meaningful for your brand or for your organization. How does this connect to eventually your design process and you make smarter products for the customer? Is something that a journey, what you're calling as a North Star, is something that we are embarking upon. How to use this data and ensure that the right product reaches the right customer. Just for example, very, very tiny example, we have a lot of data on various regions or various cities where we sell our products. Now, there are certain fits, there are certain kind of colors, there are certain kind of products that do sell really well in one particular region, while they absolutely don't in the other region. What we were doing pre-pandemic is literally bombarding all customers with all kinds of information. It was more like a push model, right? You push everything, you throw everything at the customer something might stick, right? You had hopes of that. But now at the end of the day, I know that this fit will never work in this market. Now, when a customer from that market is shopping via my e-commerce website, why am I showing him that fit? Is a question that we've started to ask. The customer also does not want to see all the riff-raff around. They want more, is a new buzzword, is customization, right? The customer wants customized data to be shown to them so that they spend lesser time, but quality time on wherever platform they are at. So the idea is to provide crisp information to the customer, which makes them make a better choice of your products. And at the same time, you are able to use that data again to make products even better for the next purchase. So that's what we are essentially doing at Bestseller.
Thanks, that's helpful. My next question is to you, Shishir. I think this is one thing that we are hearing now, very often now, that things are getting back to normal, stores are opening up. Omnichannel had become a big buzzword post-pandemic. But is there a fear now that the omnichannel will kind of fade away, that it was just a fad, as customers are now walking into offline stores? That's one question, and the added question to that is that will it also impact e-commerce, some of the plans that have been built for the next 3, 4, 5 years at organization, particularly in your organization? Are you seeing those plans being revisited in light of these new developments that are happening?
Sure. So, Kapil, I think when we talk about Omni, I'm assuming that you're talking about ship from store. So, Omni is very, very big.
Yeah.
I'm just referring to ship from store. Again, I think everyone in the industry has barely scratched the surface. There are many, many, constraints when you talk about Omni. A, it was never top of the mind. It was never required. Who will care for that 1%, 2% ship from store business? Uh, B, even the third-party portals or your own website never cared that that selection needs to be there. Everybody was going behind discounts, customer acquisition, so it was never there. When pandemic happened, I think what gained momentum or what make it gain momentum was sheer power of selection being shown up to the user. And the user who was not able to visit the store was able to see that selection on the websites, the third-party portals, Mintras of the world, or your own website. I think that was one reason that catapulted. And when the brands realize that okay, Omni can contribute at best, and I'm talking about industry averages, specifically for fashion, if you have an outlet store, it can contribute to as high as around 40%, 45%. And to a very, very flagship, full price store, it can contribute to as good as around, 8 to 10%. It's a fairly big business now. Not a business size, a fairly big channel now. So this was all the context that, it's small, we barely scratched the surface. Now let's talk about the technology ecosystem, or the demand channels. Demand channels historically are two, or it will be two, which is your own website and the third-party portals. My best estimate is that your own website, if you have not constrained your supplies to third-party portals, will at best be, let's say, 30-40% at best. And rest 60 to 70% will come from the third-party portals. Now, when it comes to third-party portals, not everyone has that evolved technology. I can, say that Myntra embarked on their journey around 5 years ago, and they were ahead of the curve. It needs a complete different tech stack, and you would know it, right? So the warehouse tech stack is completely different. The store tech stack is completely different. So you need a lot of buy-in from the marketplaces as well. So Myntra is ahead of the curve. Amazon embarked on their journey in 2020, fag end of the 2020. Flipkart is somewhere there, and everyone else is nowhere, right? So when we're talking about adoption, I think this adoption is going to go up and go up significantly. The power that the industry has seen, I think that's what will fuel the growth. You're talking about the business plans, and I think the business plans, more than the business plan, what will change is how you see your store. Store fulfillment or store ship from store and warehouse. Ship from store is very, very different ball games. Warehouse can operate for 24 hours. A warehouse knows where to go and pick up a product from. Store doesn't know. If you bombard a store beyond a certain threshold, they'll die. They just will not be able to succeed, and delivering the metrics, the customer promise is really, really important. So more than the business plan, I think what will change is that how will the stores look in the future? What is it required for us to enable Omni and both, ship from store and demand generation from store? I think both of these will change a lot. And I think there's a lot of focus on making sure or eliminating. There are many constraints, there are franchisee-driven stores, there are your own stores, there are conflicts. We have to resolve all these conflicts and then move ahead. So I think these are structural solves that the industry will do, followed by the technological solve that the marketplaces will do, and followed by the company's grit to to be committed to this cause.
Sure. Thanks. Rajnish, a question for you. Like Omni, D2C has also become a buzzword post-pandemic, and particularly in FMCG, we have seen FMCG companies actually realizing the potential of it. Again, now as things are going back to normal, are you seeing for FMCG in particular, for ITC in particular, that trend kind of fading away? If not, are companies ITC like ITC, HUL, etc., are they driving some of the learnings from some more mature categories in online like fashion, electronics, etc.? If yes, what would those learnings be?
So direct to consumer for a company like ITC, for example, if you do 20,000 crores of business with FMCG, how much you will do in D2C? 100 crores, 200 crores, I mean, it won't matter. If you look at the sales and the top line of it. But if you look at the learnings that you can have, because either you're selling to the trade directly or to modern trade, or you're selling to the marketplaces from where none of the data is coming back to you. Neither the customer data, neither the behavior data, or not even the what products are selling, bundling, etc. I mean, nothing, right? So as a direct-to-consumer business, what is the most important thing that you want to drive is the insights that you're getting from selling to 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 500,000 customers, over a period of time, and then taking those learnings and, taking them back to either product development or the way you communicate in your advertisements and marketing or packaging, and then even smaller interventions. For example, when you're looking at a particular pin code or a city, what kind of, Sugam just talked about, what kind of preferences people have. If chocolates are setting a particular pin code, can you look at it and see, can I push chocolates in the pin code or a certain kind of product category in the pin code or in a city? So those kind of learnings will be very, very powerful. And that small lab, which is your D2C, can actually affect and influence the larger piece of the business. By itself, the revenue or the top line of a D2C business cannot be the objective. It won't solve the purpose. Plus, you're already selling in all because the kind of products we do, it is selling all over. Every shop is selling it, and every place has it. So it's not really direct to consumer. But yes, if a consumer wants to buy, they can buy the products, together with some discounts and look at the new products which are there. Also, a very simple thing that if you go to any store, you won't find more than maybe at best 20, 30, 40, depending on the size of the store, maybe 100. But on the ITC website, we can sell all the 850 products that we have, the entire range. So there's a lot of discovery from the customer point of view that, okay, this company also does it. And then with that discovery, there's a lot of trust. One more thing that the D2C can really solve as you kind of have a scale in terms of number of customers that are there on the platform is the new brand launches. So, most of the new brands fail in the first 6 months to 1 year to 2 years. If you can give them that scale to, test the consumer preferences and tweak their product and offering and they take it back to the market, I think the long tail of brands or the long tail of products, that can be a major thing. Sure. So, yeah. Sure. Did I answer your question? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Nishant, a question for you. Today, brands are leveraging social media influencers very effectively to target consumers, get their attention. For a multi-brand like yourself, obviously there are different challenges each brand will have. How do you do that successfully, like target social media, like besides data that we talked about? Are there specific techniques that, let's say, a smaller brand could leverage to be able to build a better connect with the consumer? Some of the learnings in your journey that you may have.
Sure. How I would like to put it is, today's consumer has a goldfish memory. It's as long as the next swipe, right? Anyone and everyone would not remember what was the last content. And, we as a marketer, what has happened is, gone are the days where, a marketer would launch a campaign and, then put monies behind that campaign and sustain it through the season or the year. Now, the new challenge is there is new campaign getting launched every single week, and that's the new reality. But, ideally what a brand should do is to ensure that not go for an overkill. And like I, mentioned earlier as well, saying relevance is most important thing right now, and, marrying it and ensuring that the communication with the consumer holds good. It needs to be married in a fashion that, what the brand wants to communicate and what the consumer or the followers would want to hear, right? Largely, brands could qualify that into, whether the content is entertaining, educating, is it just an advertorial or selling? It can be bucketed in any of these, and probably basis that the content could be curated and pushed out. At the same time, what happens is for a consumer to, who's following a brand need to ensure that, it's not an overkill. It needs to be, it's never quality over quantity is, what I firmly believe, and this is my take there. This is one layer. we at Wrong, what we've done is we've added another layer that every single content pieces which is churned, created, produced by our organization is having another layer that if a content is not quirky, cool, entertaining or unexpected, I will not release it from, the brand fraternity or social fraternity. I think that kind of religious, governance is needed. Because at the end of the day, it's a conversational platform, and it is not a selling platform. Consumers, as we as as humans, we do not log on to social platforms to shop. We are there to either of the factors, whether to entertain ourselves, to learn something, to see what is happening, and that's how it is. And shopping happens, through that journey, and I think we need to constantly re-emphasize that, and that's what we've been doing. So with the 450 million Wrong Tribe universe that we have been constantly focusing on this, framework and ensuring that the data is pushed in that fashion, and we are constantly conversing with the consumer in that pattern. If not, we will not release the content which will not be relevant, and that's how that's my take there. And I think most brand would look forward to doing that.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Question for you, Sugam. Uh, common grudge that many upcoming brands and offline brands have is that the funded D2C brands have a lot of money at their disposal, so they do not really worry about the CAC per se. Rajnish also touched upon it. For bestseller, let's say, I'm sure you would have had to face competition from some of these upcoming D2C brands who've got VC money at their disposal. How does bestseller have been able to counter that, making sure the economics stayed intact? And if some of the upcoming brands can take that advice to build positive unit economics or at least healthy unit economics while building their D2C portfolio?
So I think the biggest learning that we've had over the years is that the brand comes first. The brand values comes first. What you are, who you are comes first, then eventually what you want to sell. I think that always is second. So if you stay true to your core values, you stay true to your customer, and you provide your customer with what's true to you, and of course you are in the business entirely because of the customer, so of course you are evolving yourself with what the customer needs every day. But at the same time, customers love brands who have consistency, who have a purpose, and there is a value attached to the brand, not just in terms of the product that they are buying, but why they are buying that product. So if you, my suggestion, the answer to your question, to my suggestion to the D2C brands is, yes, there will be valuations. Yes, you will get the sudden spurt of money. You would want to do 100 things, but at the same time, make sure that you stay true to what your core values of your brands are. And at the same time, you stay very, very close to your customer. Listen to your customer. I think sometimes when businesses become big, or it's all in a relative term, of course, you suddenly lose sight of the customer. I think it's very important to have your ears to the ground. Make sure that you know what the customer preferences are. Use your own data. Use the market data to ensure that you are churning out product over product that is more closer to the customer than it was yesterday. So these two things: stay true to your own values, and second, listen to your customer.
Thanks. How are we on time? Should I open it up for Q&A? So I can maybe go on for another 25 minutes asking more questions, but I think in the interest of time, we'll open the floor for questions. Anybody in the audience has any question for the panelists?
Hi, my name is Pawan. I represent a company called PromptCloud. We are a DaaS company. So my question to all the panelists here is that we're likely to be entering all over the world and also in India in a high inflationary environment, right? So how do you think, the two-part of question, how do you think the customer preferences are going to change in this high inflationary scenario? And what do you think the brand should do to cope up in this environment?
clear? I couldn't hear the question very clearly. Could you please repeat?
Okay.
I think
So,
I got the question, Kapil, so I'll take that.
You understood?
Maybe. Yes.
can I repeat
So I
it?
think my friend's question is that, you know, the it's a zone of high inflation, the times of high inflation, and what can brands do to kind of tweak their offering, or what can they do to kind of sustain? Is that right? All right. So, see, inflation doesn't mean that people, and fortunately today I was telling Sugam again that all my panelists are actually from Apple industry. I'm the only one from FMCG, right? And in fact, I've been all my life in the Apple industry as well. So if you look at these two industries, you know, one category is aspirational, right? But people still wear something, right? And a category like food is essential. So it's not like they'll stop eating, right? So maybe the pack sizes will become smaller. Maybe the discounts that they're looking for will become steeper, right? But you need to tweak your offering. Again, inflation is a cycle. You know, once you have inflation, then you have times of no inflation or very, very low inflation, then high inflation. So it's always a cycle. You can always tweak your offering, sustain the cycle, and then, you know, be consistent as a brand, right? And keep your offerings relevant, the content relevant. I think that's most important. I love that comment. You know, we stop being relevant and we start looking for discounts and all that. It doesn't matter. It depends on what category you are playing in. Look at the dynamics, look at the competition, and just, you know, just like you are driving a car, you know, slow down, put some brakes, you know, put the accelerator, and you'll be fine, right?
Any other questions in the audience?
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Sushil, co-founder of MPF Style Club. We are into lifestyle solution. My question to the panelists is that when you look at D2C brand, and I think three of you are into apparel segment, so how do you look at men's fashion versus women's fashion, and what kind of things that you see in D2C segment, which is particularly, you're catching the trend, or anything that you particularly see, which can give some insights? Thank you.
So what I've understood of your question is, what is the key differentiation between men's fashion and women's fashion, right? Is that what you're trying to understand? I think I'll take the first part of your question. Essentially, men's fashion is category driven and women's fashion is trend driven. Of course, having said that, there's a lot of gray areas, but I'm just going with common knowledge and what we've understood of it. Coming to the second part, I think we were also talking, and trends are not just fashion driven essentially. There's a lot of socio-economic influence that adds to trends. Just for example, I think you must have heard a lot about athleisure. As soon as the pandemic started, right? Work from home, people wearing shorts, track pants, t-shirts, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And now suddenly that you see that the trend has changed, and wovens, what I essentially means is shirts and dresses and tops and jackets and tailoring and all of that has made a comeback. So trends are two-part. One is, of course, the fashion part of it as to what the world is moving towards purely in terms of design and colors and silhouettes and all of that. The other part is the socio-economic part and what's happening around us as of today. So the offline business is thriving suddenly. We are back again here sitting together. That itself is a testimony to the fact that the world is coming about physically. So that part has influenced a lot of fashion trends purely in terms of what people wear and what they consume.
You want to add to that, Nisha?
Just to add to that, I would like to specifically mention, and this is basis our understanding of consumers, men are very, very brand driven, and women are not. They are product driven. I mean, this is a common consumer behavior. When you would see a woman and men shopping, you would see that. But just to add to what he said, trends like sustainability, it's in vogue right now. The world is talking about it. Yes, brands make conscious effort to it, but at the end of the day, it's about viability and ensuring that what a consumer is looking for. The idea is, I'll just give you a relevant reference to, one of the instances that happened with us. Salvage denims, we had launched salvage denim. It's supposed to be one of the, they would know about it. It's one of the finest denims, and it's supposed to be heavier. And this is something which happened, with me, and while I was trying to interact with the consumer, and he said, this product is not good. And we were doing some consumer trials, and the feedback, to me was that, sir, why is that this not good? The idea the consumer had was, बहुत heavy, it's very heavy, and that's the reason. So it is completely for the consumer, it's consumer's market, and we need to ensure, irrespective of what the brands are trying to sell, it has to be reciprocal. It needs to, be done for the consumer. And like Sugam mentioned, saying that, it's very, very essential. We need to ensure that we constantly are hearing what the consumers are saying, and that's what my take is. So that's where it is. As far as trends are concerned, yes, it is important for brands to offer, but it is imperative that we are taking a check, taking the business viability into factor. Thank you.
Hello. I want to understand that what should be the D2C strategy in value fashion? Low cost fashion.
D2C
how
in value
D2C
fashion.
will apply in that?
I can take this one. And when you mention value, what is the price point? Because at a certain price point, the first thing that you should answer is whether is it a positive unit economics or not, right? Because let's say if a 500 rupee shirt, hypothetically, you'll end up paying 120 rupees only on 30 rupees only for logistics. And then there is cost of customer acquisition, cost of remarketing, and then selling in third-party portals, you're giving commission. So whether you will make money or not, I think that becomes the primary question. So try to answer that first. But if we talk about this segment, this is the fastest growing segment. Both offline and online. It's just that, purely from a unit economics point of view, it makes easier to capture it offline rather than online. Capturing it online then becomes the imperative for the for the business that, how do you go and change your supply chain, make your costs, lower, your repeats higher, what as a brand you stand out for. I think that's what as a brand stand out for is topmost, and given that, if there is no product market fit, the brand, philosophy, design, silhouette, color, all that has to be intact, and that I'm taking as an hygiene. And then comes the question of, solving the unit economics. That would be my take. Anything you want to add, Nishant?
I will add something. Basically, what he means is that if other people are ready to burn their money, then don't burn yours, right? Because any digital business, any e-commerce business takes a long time to, break even and become profitable. So if there are marketplaces that you can find customers, you sell on marketplaces, because to acquire customers is a huge cost. And if you're acquiring customers yourself and your price point is 500, 600, 300, 400 rupees, it will become very difficult for you to make the unit economics work.
Hi, my name is Neha and I'm from KPMG. So we just spoke about gender dynamics in fashion business, and we spoke about sustainability. So and we also spoke about the trends that are prevailing in the industry. So just wanted to get your thoughts on, from D2C business perspective, we see a lot of startups who are focused on offering merchandise for particular gender, right? So for example, we have Urbanics, which is primarily into female fashion. And there is a trend towards gender neutral fashion, which also takes into consideration your sustainability aspect. And probably that's more economical in terms of marketing effort also. So what do you think, or what's your take on startups taking that risk, specifically in D2C scenario where they can be more forward-looking with their concepts?
So, first of all, sustainability is not a trend. it's a purpose. It's something that you believe in as an organization, as a brand. How much you believe in it will depend on, or will show the kind of monies that you spend on sustainability. Talking about one of the aspects of sustainability, which is gender neutrality, and there are various other ways where sustainability can be achieved through this one of the most polluting industries, which is fashion. I think sustainability is very important to the customer as well, in today's customer. Maybe they are not ready to pay for it today, extra, whatever the cost of that sustainability element might be. But at the same time, if you continue to embark on that journey, the customer will see value in you or your brand or your organization if they feel that the alignment of sustainability of the customer and the organization's match. It's not something short term. It is not something that you can just do once and not do it tomorrow. It is a journey. It is something I was very, very lucky to speak to Paul Polman, who was the CEO of Global Unilever, just around 4 days back. There's a book, Net Positive, by Paul Polman. I think if ever people who are interested in sustainability should read that. I think we are past that stage that we are even talking about sustainability. It is no more a subject. It is something that is a journey that we have already embarked on, and we need to become net positive very soon. Otherwise, there will not be much left on the planet. We are already consuming far more than what the planet has to offer. We are draining it now. We are not polluting it anymore. So, again, coming back to your question and to the point, I think it's something which is very important to the customer today, which is let's say a customer which is you call it a Gen Z or a millennial. It's something that every brand needs to look into, no matter who they are, where they are, whether it's automobiles, whether it's fashion, whether it's FMCG, whether it's anything for that matter. That's what my take on it.
Thank you so much. I request Mr. Kapil to do the honors in presenting a memento as a token of love to all our panelists. I request the hostess to kindly join us onto the dais to help us with the giveaway, please.
Thanks for the lovely discussion today.
Can we take a picture, sir? Thank you so much to all the panelists, and thanks to Mr. Kapil for moderating the session.